Good evening, everyone. I'm Gene Bailey, and you're watching FlashPoint. Thank you for joining us tonight. Yes, different location. We are actually upstairs in the FlashPoint Master Control Room while we do some much-needed set changes downstairs. So be looking the next few days. We'll be making some set changes and some additions and bring that to you. So, yes, this is the working control room. This is where, I would say, where the magic happened. This is where all the divinely developed directives happen. So they can't talk. This is working. So you'll hear a lot of voices behind me. They can't talk about me because they'll be on camera. So thank you for joining us tonight. Glad you're with us. Listen, I want to encourage you right now. We are coming to California in a week. This time next week, we will be right there in Los Angeles, California at Angelus Temple. Join us with Matthew Barnett right there, Lorenzo Sewell, Rick Green, Ed Rush, and Luke Ball. We're going to have a great time. I want to see you there. Join us. Stay the whole week because we will be Thursday and Friday, there's a show. And then Saturday's the outreach. And then Sunday, I'm speaking at Angelus Temple Sunday morning. I'd love to have you stay over and join me Sunday morning. So that's it. Well, let me welcome the first two panelists tonight with me, Lucas Miles and Mark Meckler. Welcome, gentlemen. Glad you're with me tonight.
Glad to be here.
All right. So, Lucas, Lucas has a new book, and we're going to get to that. So go ahead and show us Control Room. Hey, you guys show me the book cover. What does this thing look like? There it is, Pagan Threat. That doesn't sound very spiritual, Lucas. Tell us what this is about.
You know what? Honestly, as I was writing the last several years on combating wokeism, especially in the church, what I think I found through that is that wokeism has come to seed, and it's really, truly pagan. We are seeing a major uptick, especially among young women, towards pagan practices and pagan worldview, crystals, burning sage, the Enneagram, horoscopes, Wicca. All of these things are becoming more and more popular, and we're seeing an intersection between pagan practices and also Marxist ideology, and that's creating quite a mess, I think, for this country, and I think it's important that Christians are aware of this so we know how to tackle it.
So give me one. How do we handle it? How do we tackle it? Give me one clue.
Yeah, so I was in Vegas here recently with Deep USA Faith, and we were doing man on the street interviews. And about 50% of the people I interviewed told me that they were Christian. And of those 50%, I would ask them, the next question is, what do you believe happens after we die? And I had a very large percentage, almost 50% of those individuals tell me they believe in reincarnation. So we have a Christian worldview problem. We have this blend now of some sort of Christian foundation with a lot of pagan practices intermixed. And I think we have to return to primary doctrine. We have to get, really double down on discipleship, make sure that people are learning about the truth of the scriptures, from the pulpit. And I think there's a lot of other things we can do, leverage technology. So much of this is being pushed and practiced within kind of really digital pagan spaces. So TikTok Live, you see a lot of people doing tarot cards and, burning, incense and different things, for spiritual practices. And I think that the gospel has to be even more prominent and prevalent in those spaces. So I give kind of a whole roadmap, about 7 major steps there for the church, but that's just a few.
All right. So we can get this book. It just has come out. Pagan Threat, you can scan the QR code right there if you're quick on your phone. Or where can they go to pre-order? Can they go pre-order Amazon?
So Amazon, Barnes & Noble, ChristianBooks.com, wherever books are sold. It hit #1 on Amazon kind of the first week we announced it, which was pretty exciting in the church and state category. So it's already kind of got that bestseller status there, but we're expecting it to do quite well. And it's kind of a follow-up in many ways to my last book, Woke Jesus.
All right. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later in the show, but the way to get it kicked off, and congratulations on the release. All right, Mark Meckler, before we get into today's news topics, I wanted to ask you an update since you were there. I believe you're just a little bit north of where a lot of the damage was from the Texas floods. I haven't asked you this in a while. How are things in that area?
Yeah, we're not in the most affected area. The area that folks would have heard of we're near is called Sandy Creek. Bunch of folks lost their lives, bunch of homes destroyed. And I could say it's coming back. Texas is doing what Texas does, which is individuals in the community are stepping up, churches are stepping up. And it's something I don't normally say, but I got to give a lot of credit to Travis County. It's a very liberal county, but they've done a great job here. I could tell it's getting better. There was a big area right by my house where a lot of the debris was being piled and sorted and shredded and hauled off. They took that down today. So they've done the vast majority of the heavy cleanup, and we're probably now in the rebuilding phase. The big bridge near us that washed out, which was called the Cow Creek Bridge, that's been rebuilt. So I think they've done a pretty good job of recovering quickly. The human scars will remain for a long time, but certainly the community is beginning to heal.
Excellent, excellent. Glad to hear it. We'll continue to watch, and we'll have Troy Brewer, or those of you that were with us with Troy and all the work that he did, we'll get an update from him as well coming up in a future program. All right, let's get into the news of the day. President Trump is still President Trump. I just love turning on the news and finding out what's going on. If you have Sirius XM like I do in my truck, I turn it on and I'm like, what has he done today? Well, we talked about this the other night about foreign leaders. He's kind of taken them to school. Watch.
The Europeans were sitting around the Resolute desk yesterday like they were waiting for class to start. Trump was giving Europe a geography lesson. He even put up the big, beautiful map and sent it home with Zelensky as homework. Now, if Zelensky can read a map like Trump can read a putt, we'll have a deal in no time. The last president to save Europe from Russian aggression was Reagan, and his portrait was staring them down in the Oval. Compare that to Trump's first term, when Europe and Merkel were trying to look down on him and tell him he was wrong. Now Europe realizes he was right about everything, and they're the ones doing the listening. Even Obama's guys are admitting 47's in control.
Whoever had the idea to bring all these European leaders together, in addition to President Zelensky, that was a brilliant, brilliant idea.
Donald Trump didn't make Europe feel too comfortable. When it was time to get down to business and call Putin, he kicked them out of the room.
I didn't do it in front of them. I thought that would be disrespectful to President Putin. I wouldn't do that because they have not had the warmest relations. And actually, President Putin wouldn't talk to the people from Europe. I mean, that was part of the problem.
CNN is now whining that Zelensky had to wait in the hallway.
The fact that he feels he's got to check in with Putin right away still feels like Trump needs Putin's approval in a way that's got to be very disturbing to Zelensky sitting there.
This isn't CNN's first rodeo. They should know the first time Putin and Zelensky talk should be face-to-face, not on speakerphone. And what? Trump's not supposed to call Vlad to set up the next round of talks? Who else is he going to call? After their meeting yesterday, they told Trump at the table, great talk. We'll see you in a month or two.
They said a month or two? You're going to have another 40,000 people dead in a month or two. You have to do it tonight.
The Obama-Biden doctrine of strategic patience, a.k.a. don't change anything, just got doged.
All right, let me get your take on all of that. Mark Meckler, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I first want to go to the media commentary, and the bottom line is those people are just dumb. I mean, and I mean that disrespectfully. Those are unintelligent people who haven't paid attention to the world for the last 40 years. They've been wrong on absolutely everything. Trump is masterful here. That doesn't mean I know what's going to happen or he's going to get a great result right away, but he handled everything absolutely perfectly, putting the European leaders in front of the Resolute desk. They are in second place. They're playing second fiddle to him. He is the world's leader. He's in charge. I think putting them out of the room, getting Putin on the phone, that's the right move as well. Anybody who's ever conducted a mediation knows that you don't do it with everybody sitting in the room watching. You separate the parties and you do it separately. That's the only way to mediate. And that's what I mean when I say these people are dumb. They know this. They just aren't willing to admit it.
Yeah. All right. Lucas, now you got a unique position because you're a pastor of a local church and your senior, your role at TPUSA Faith, your senior, whatever it is. Director. Okay. So how does that fit? How does this fit?
You know what? I think that Trump put on a masterclass of really strategic geopolitical negotiations here. I mean, he brought everybody into the principal's office. He had the conversations. This is really hard work. We're talking about, tensions that have been there for a very long time in this part of the world. And this is something you have to handle very delicately, but he's doing it swiftly as well. And he understands what's at stake. I think he's to be applauded. As Mark said, look, I don't know what the outcome of this is going to be. But I think that as far as how anybody can handle it, I think Trump is doing as good as anybody could could do, if not a lot better.
I think you're right. And we'll continue to watch, obviously. I know you're interested at home to watch and see what's going to happen here. We're going to continue to follow it for you. All right, let's move on. This next clip is like if you're in politics, this is your dream. This is one of those dream moments when you get, I don't know, say 70,000 monks to endorse you. Watch.
70,000 monks just broke their vows of silence to nominate Trump for the Nobel.
Dear Mr. President Trump, we are standing here today with hearts full of appreciation. Today, 70,000 Cambodian Buddhist monks are wholeheartedly supportive of our Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Manet to nominate you for the Nobel Peace Prize. Please accept, Mr. President.
70,000 monks can't be wrong.
From the beginning of this entire process, much of the left-wing media has been actively rooting against the President of the United States in the pursuit of peace. All weekend following those historic U.S.-Russia bilateral talks, we listened to clueless pundits on television trying but failing to claim that the president had failed. The so-called experts in the foreign policy establishment, whose record is nothing but endless wars, trillions of wasted taxpayer dollars, and dead Americans, have the nerve to try and lecture President Trump, who has solved 7 global conflicts in 7 months.
Trump stopping wars that started on Democrats' watch. Even the monks get it. Even Democrats like Stephen A. get it.
It was Biden in office when a full-fledged war against Ukraine took place. It was Russia that invaded Crimea, and that was under the Obama administration. It was Clinton in office when you made a deal that disarmed the Ukraine and therefore weakened them, leaving them dependent on the United States. What I'm saying is promises made are supposed to be promises kept.
There you go. Lucas, you heard that. What do you think?
Look, I just want to say that before the monks stood up, Gene, I was going to nominate you for the Nobel Peace Prize, but I tell you what, this is hard to beat.
So close.
I'm just thinking about all of kind of the spiritualists and the Buddhists and pagan practitioners in Hollywood right now, that they don't even know what to do with this, because when this many figures come out of a place like this and stand up 70,000 monks and support Trump in this way, it's got to be blowing some people's minds right now.
All right. You heard Caroline Leavitt there talk about the journalist. I think she agrees with what you said there, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, and she's going even deeper. What she's saying is they're essentially anti-American. They're rooting against the president's success. They do this on every issue. So here he is trying to stop a war, trying to stop the killing. And immediately you can see the urgency with which he's saying it. He's doing the same thing in Washington, D.C. with stopping the crime. And at every issue where Trump is trying to stop the killing, the press is against it. And this is really vile stuff. And they are exposing themselves for exactly what they are.
Do you think they're... Mark, do you think they're ever going to get it? I mean, this is for both of you, but I'll start with you, Mark. The media, I mean, you would think by now common sense would say, hey, that left thing didn't work. So all you guys that are paying for us to say what you want us to say, we're going to go over here now because we're losing viewers. I mean, MSNBC, CNN, all these guys that are so left-leaning, you would think at some point, numbers are the name of the game when it comes to television. However, if you're selling advertising, you want more eyeballs watching your program. So watching everything, your network, because then you can make more money, sell more ads. So that being the case, why is it? Is it that bad that the actual belief system is so skewed to the left that they really believe this, or is it just they're so far in there's no way out?
Look, the best way I can describe it, Gene, is I know how secure I am in my faith, and there's nothing anybody could say to me to convince me that Jesus Christ is not my Lord and Savior. That's how they treat their politics. They are absent religion. The human heart has a God-shaped hole in it. Obviously, I didn't invent that. They fill that hole with political ideology, and so they simply cannot walk away from it. It's going to take a new generation of journalists to set this thing right.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me get your thoughts there, Lucas.
I think when your ego is so tied to the positions that you've held for so long, there's almost a complete inability. Paul says their foolish hearts were darkened. And I think that we're seeing this, on this issue and more, where they just don't have any ability, even when the truth right before them. Everything is pointing to, hey, you know what? You misjudged this guy. You misjudged the situation. They're literally unable to acknowledge that they were wrong.
Yeah, without a doubt. All right, but one thing President Trump says, he says he wants to go to heaven.
Just want to end it. I want to end it. We're not losing American lives. We're not losing American soldiers. We're losing Russian and Ukrainian, mostly soldiers. Some people, as missiles hit wrong spots or get lobbed into cities like Kiev and towns. But, if I can save 7,000 people a week from being killed, I think that's I want to try and get to heaven if possible. I'm hearing I'm not doing well. I hear I'm really at the bottom of the totem pole. But if I can get to heaven, this will be one of the reasons. Well, I think I saved a lot of lives with India, Pakistan. They were going at it. The planes were being shot down. That was going to be maybe a nuclear war if I let that go. And I did that through trade.
All right. Well, first of all, it's not by works that you get to heaven, Lucas. I don't know if you knew that, but you can't do good works. I know as a pastor there at Influence Church, you preach this all the time. But it does show that this is the president, and we're so used now in a very short amount of time, ever since July 13th of last year when he was the attempted assassination, his acknowledgement of God is ever present in his speech and what he's talking about. This is a massive shift. We're not used to seeing this from a president, yet even off the cuff answers, he's pointing back to God. That's pretty bizarre, don't you think?
Yeah, I think that, first of all, this is remarkable. I mean, salvation is now a mainstream conversation in America. The gospel is a mainstream conversation in America. And I think that is in and of itself reason to rejoice. I think in many ways, President Trump is being, somewhat tongue in cheek here a little bit on this and talking about it this way. I don't know as though that sums up his total theology. Gene, you and I had a chance to pray for President Trump last year together, I believe, if I remember right, down in Georgia. And I think this is a president who's surrounded himself with people who understand the gospel, who have been able to share that with him multiple times. And look, if there's still not clarity on that, I think it's very important that everybody out there knows that salvation is not by works, that none of us are, have what it takes. We're all on the bottom of the list when it comes to our own effort. If we want to have a contest to see who can jump over the Grand Canyon, it doesn't matter if you can jump a little bit further than I can. We're both going to fall to the bottom. And it's only by the grace of God. And so I think that's important for that message to go out to this nation. But I love that salvation is a mainstream conversation here in America this week.
I love it. I agree. I love it. Mark, I think Mark could probably jump just a little bit further than you and I can. But
I'm the old guy in the room. That's not happening.
Yeah, whatever. So, Mark, in light of this conversation, though, how does a president, leader of the free world, now more than ever, speaking about God, what kind of impact do you think that it makes on the global scale?
Yeah, look, I think what he's doing, and Lucas said it well, I think he's mainstreaming salvation and mainstreaming the gospel. And even if his theology is not correct and he's saying things off the cuff, in a way that's even better. He's not a pastor. He's just a regular guy who's acknowledging that God is in control of everything on this earth and beyond. And so for a regular person to be saying it in an awkward way on the international stage, not a pastor who knows everything, I think that's a phenomenal step forward.
I believe you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. All right, let me show you what President Trump posted today on his Truth Social account, moving to Washington, D.C., and what's really going on with the safety. D.C. gave fake crime numbers in order to create a false illusion of safety. This is a very bad and dangerous thing to do, and they're under serious investigation for so doing. Until 4 days ago, Washington, D.C. was the most unsafe city in the United States and perhaps the world. It's hard not to say this, and when you read a Trump tweet, you kind of want to read it like he would say it. But now, in a short period of time, it's perhaps the safest, getting better every single hour. People are flocking to D.C. again, and soon the beautification will begin. So I know that was horrible, but thank gosh that Pastor Hank Kuhneman wasn't on, because he would only have gotten worse at that point. So Lucas, this is to take on D.C. crime in the middle of everything else. This is still pretty amazing.
Look, I've spent a lot of time in D.C. the last 2 years, and it's a beautiful city, but there are parts of it that you feel unsafe going in, and you know that really at any time that it can become much more unsafe, if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I think that Trump is right on in dealing with this head on. I think that this has been going on for way too long. The capital of the United States of America, the greatest country in the world, should be a safe place. And I think that we need some accountability there. And I think that this administration is doing just that.
I think you're right. Mark, your thoughts?
Look, I think this is actually symbolically even more important. What Trump has just proven in a week is that this is not difficult. This is the first week in 10 years, the first summer week in 10 years when there's not a single murder in Washington, D.C. It wasn't hard. It just took decisive action. And it shows something about the left and about Democrats in America. They're okay, especially in the inner city, with black on black violence. They don't care how many black people get killed. They don't care how much crime there is. They don't care how much violence there is. Trump solved this in 1 week. This could be done in any major city in the United States of America. Democrats choose not to do it. The blood is on their hands. And really, this is the worst racism that our country has seen since the time of slavery.
Agreed. Let me show you this. Anna Giratelli says, the truth of what happened to me in the D.C. government's role is as much a public scandal as it is a personal trauma. Just listen. You're going to need to listen to this. The D.C. police covered up the unspeakable wrong that a stranger did to me. Even though a judge sentenced my attacker to hard time in prison, D.C. police leadership would rather deceive the public and appear less dangerous than list mine and countless other sexual assaults on their website. Watch.
Reporting on crime in 2020 as a Homeland Security reporter for the Washington Examiner, went to the postal office on a Saturday morning, dressed in sweats, walking down the street, and a man lunged at me. And, I went into a fight with him, what I believed was fighting for my life. And in the process, I was sexually assaulted in public, in daylight, right outside Union Station. And thank God I was rescued by a construction worker across the street, and others ran over. But he got away that day. And he was later arrested through DNA evidence that they got from the scene. But it was a significant ordeal, nothing of which I'd ever been through, living in D.C. for 7 years at that point.
So obviously he had a rap sheet if they had his DNA in the system. So he's a repeat offender. Is that correct?
He was, yes. They got his DNA back. They arrested him on the street. A few months later, he was homeless, living close to my apartment building near Union Station on Capitol Hill. And they went on to arrest him 5 more times and released him from jail every single time at the order of the judge of the court. And for me, that was something that put his safety over my safety. They didn't want to overcrowd jails during COVID for 2020 and 2021. And so I didn't feel safe on the street if he was out. And so I chose to leave Washington, my home, where I planned to be for decades, because I didn't feel the city was protecting me as a taxpayer and as a resident.
And as a victim, right? And not that you didn't just feel safe, but you literally were not safe in the city, obviously. What was your response to President Trump's press conference yesterday, where he announced that he's taking the city back for all Americans to come and petition their government, but to visit the capital of the United States of America without fear of being injured, being assaulted like you were, or being, God forbid, shot and killed, as we've seen with interns, a former Trump official last year who was killed in the middle of the day? What was your response to his press conference?
Truthfully, it was really emotional. I'm a reporter, but I'm a human being first. And as a victim who hasn't spoken up for 5 years, I've waited for others to speak up. And it feels like no one sees you. No one sees all of us that have been hurt and had our lives changed by being attacked on the street in D.C. in broad daylight. And President Trump's message, it made me feel seen for the first time. It made me feel like someone was going to do something about the crime that I'd experienced, so that other people, regardless of party, regardless of beliefs, no one should be a victim of crime. And I think that's what the White House was trying to communicate yesterday.
Excellent. Yeah, no one should be a victim of crime. And this Washington Examiner reporter, Mark, you can't imagine seeing your attacker caught, tried, but then released. This is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it makes my blood boil. I'm outraged by this. Crime is a choice. And we've come to this place in America, especially in the blue cities, where people act like, well, this is just part of living in a city. And that's a fiction created by Democrats that puts human lives at risk. It elevates the rights, and I'm saying that in air quotes, it elevates criminals generally over the victims, criminals over law-abiding citizens. This is today's Democratic Party. And what's interesting is you watch what's going on in D.C., the crime is being cleaned up. I know lots of people who live there. It feels safer. The metro is safer, and Democrats are protesting against this, and it's just hard for me to understand.
It's hard for me to understand, too. Lucas, why is it that way?
No, like this is the same, really group of individuals that were happy to over-report COVID deaths, and now they're going to under-report sexual assaults in D.C. or other of our blue cities, just to make crime stats look better. I don't know how they sleep at night. They seem to sleep just fine, but that's what happens when your conscience is seared. And I think that, it's so important that these things are heard. I feel terrible for Anna and her story, but she's one person of literally hundreds, if not thousands around this country that have had similar, assaults happen to them and terrible encounters. And it is time that we do something about it. This is not the America that we want to live in. And I think it's time that the American people let their voices be heard. I'm glad we now have an administration, that is really behind, peace and order on our streets.
Absolutely. I agree. The reality is, everybody watching this tonight, it's not just an Examiner, Washington Examiner reporter. It's not just any reporter. It's not just one person. This is a crime, is a problem we all have to deal with. And everybody in D.C., you would think this would be the shining example. I think President Trump said that. This should have the best beautification process going on inside that beltway, the best lowest crime numbers, all of those things should be happening, but yet they're not. It's everybody's problem. And it's a problem we have to take seriously. And this is yet one more thing that when we've talked about earlier, elections do have consequences. Let's remember what happened a few years ago. What did D.C. look like? What did Philadelphia look like? What did New York City look like? All of these things make a difference with who's sitting in the chair at the top. All right, we're going to take a break. We come back. Kevin Sorbo joins us. We talk about what he's been doing and what's happening in Hollywood. Don't go away. Be right back.
FlashPoint Live is coming to Council Bluffs, Iowa, Thursday, September 11th at 7 p.m. Join Gene Bailey at the Mid-America Center as we kick off Opening the Heavens 2025 with a powerful night of bold truth and prophetic insight. Join Hank Kuhneman, Lance Wallnau, John Amanchukwu, Tony Suarez, and Rick Green for one power-packed night. Register now at openingtheheavens.org. America, it's time to take a stand for truth.
Hey, FlashPoint Army, listen, we are going to be right here August 28th and 29th. But, Matt, I told you, we've been talking about, you've been walking us all around. The thing I told you I'm the most excited about and what I want you guys to be involved in is the outreach that we're going to do. It's going to be amazing. Tell them what they're going to be doing.
Yeah, it's going to be a big old summer outreach. I mean, kids are going back to school. We're going to have everything you can imagine to equip them. We're going to help fire victims. We're going to feed people. We're going to clothe people. And just have a big old party here. And just, LA doesn't have a lot of things like that for people, just to celebrate. So we're going to kind of throw the kitchen sink of everything that we have at the Dream Center for that one big day and make it a monumental outreach.
That's going to be a blast. So listen, I want all you guys to come on. I need a bunch of you to show up. We're going to lock arms with the Dream Center, Matthew, and everybody here, and we're going to see LA changed. Come on, be a part, 28th to 29th, right here in Los Angeles.
FlashPoint Live is coming to Angelus Temple in Los Angeles, California, August 28th and 29th. Join Gene Bailey and his guests, Matthew Barnett, Lorenzo Sewell, Rick Green, Luke Ball, Ed Rush, and many more for 2 breakthrough nights of bold commentary, news, and spiritual insight. Register for this free event at fparmy.com/California. August 28th and 29th, West Coast. Now's the time to be bold and stand for truth.
And we're back, second half. Let me just remind you again, FlashPoint Live Los Angeles will be there, downtown LA. Lots of free parking, safe, everything's safe right there where we'll be at. You're going to enjoy it. Listen, come be a part, free event, August 28th, 29th. Join us. I go to fparmy.com/California or /events for the listing of all of our events. But listen, California, this is going to be something a little different. And I know you've heard me talk about it, those of you that are regular watchers, but if you don't know, we are going to spend some time. Thursday and Friday are normal FlashPoint Live event days. But then on Saturday, an outreach. Now, they're still dealing with fires, getting people back into their homes, still dealing with issues that are in downtown LA that we need to help out. You and I, FlashPoint Army, we're going to join hands together and work together to get some things happening right there in downtown Los Angeles. So come join us. And if you say, well, I can't do much and I don't get around, there's something for everyone to do. No, you're not too young or too old to help. So I'm looking forward to that. And then we'll be at the infamous Angelus Temple on Sunday. Now, one thing I want to mention that I haven't mentioned probably enough is that they are opening up Amy Semple McPherson's home for tours for you, FlashPoint Army. So you'll be able to tour her home that's 15 feet from the back of the church when she built it so long ago. They redid it, put it back the way it was when she had it. And so I think you'll really enjoy. You get there early enough that you can go through there and take a tour. They got some video. It's a great place. You're going to enjoy going there. So make sure you attend. Now, after that, we'll be in Opening the Heavens in Omaha, Nebraska, September 11 on 9/11. Right there at the Mid-America Center, actually right across from Omaha. And Hank Kuhneman, Lance Wallnau, Rick Green, John Amanchukwu, and we're going to have a great time. Of course, you see Lance will be there, Rick, Tony. We're going to have a great time. So come join us there. It's always a wild time. And yes, if you watched last year, I'm told there will be smoke on the water. And if you don't know what that means, you just have to tune in and watch. Because we kind of go back to classic rock. Anyway, so it's going to be a good time. I want to see you there. Now, a little programming note here to make sure those of you that watch us on a regular basis on the Victory Channel, we are not going off the Victory Channel. We're on the Victory Channel. However, the Victory Channel is going off of Comcast cable and Spectrum cable. So if you're watching on one of those two cable systems, this August 22nd, just around the corner here, by this weekend, next week, you will not be able to see FlashPoint on Comcast. And by September 20th, you will not be able to see us on Spectrum if that's how you get your programming from FlashPoint. Now, you can go to the website, fparmy.com/media right there. All the ways to watch are listed. Now, there's a lot of ways that you can watch, whether it be on Roku, the internet. You can go to our website. We'll be getting that set up and we're also working on some new things, like an app that you'll be able to watch the program as well. All that's coming. Those of you that say I don't use my phone and I don't use the internet, well, then there's yet another way, and that's the FlashPoint Television Network. We are in some markets already in off-air. They're called .2 stations. They're digital TV stations that are free. So if you have a digital antenna, which is very inexpensive, you'll be able to reach it. So for instance, we just went on in Louisville, Houston, and Nashville on 3 stations. That's 24 hours a day. The FlashPoint Television Network will be adding programming as we go. So if you like FlashPoint, you will be able to see FlashPoint type events right there. And we're carrying more and more live events. And I can tell you guys are enjoying it by the sheer numbers of you that are watching. Now, we'll always be on YouTube, Facebook, as long as they keep us on there. By the way, did you notice the other night on Facebook, they took us off? It was during that Chuck Schumer clip. Anyway, we're on there unless they take us off, and then we have to edit and put something back up there. So that's why it's so good for you to watch us live and have all these different ways to watch. So do that. Now, I want to talk to Virginia. We have not, forgive me, I have not talked about this enough. Virginia, you have an election coming up this year, and this is huge. Mark Meckler, why is this election so huge? Glenn Youngkin
this is an incredible election. It's an off-year election. And so that means the whole country will be focused on it. You've got all their statewide officers, got their entire House of Representatives up for election. And there's a real question there. Is Virginia going to be a blue or a red state? It actually hangs in the balance. I think this is a precursor to the midterm elections. You have Winsome Sears running for governor, and she's a good conservative, pro-gun, pro-life candidate, outwardly Christian candidate versus a complete leftist. And so the question is, what is Virginia going to do? Northern Virginia, obviously fairly dominant in politics. That's the DC Beltway sort of area. And Southern Virginia is a regular old Southern state, so it's very conservative. I think this one's going to come down to the wire. I have no way to predict what's going to happen there.
I agree. And this is why it's so important. So we need to, Virginia, we need to rally around you, and FlashPoint will do what we can to help maybe we'll get another letter writing campaign to those people who have not voted in the most recent election. But we've got to rally. It's not too early right now. November's coming this year for Virginia. So Lucas, we are about to, and again, I like having you on because you're an author, yes, but you're also senior pastor of Influence Church and then senior director of TPUSA Faith. So you kind of got your feet in three different worlds. We're entering into a new election season. Of course, Virginia's this year, but then we're midterms next year. What is it that you're telling pastors and with TPUSA Faith? What is it you're telling them that they need to be doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, we have some great news with the repealing of the Johnson Amendment, this IRS ruling that's taken place. And there is no excuse for pastors to not talk about issues from the pulpit. Look, I'm not even necessarily recommending pastors use the full liberty of endorsing candidates. I think if they're really convinced, they're welcome to do that, obviously, and the law now states that. But I think that it's important we recognize that there are no excuses anymore to not preaching the full counsel of the Word of God on issues such as marriage, sexuality, the border, gender, life, all of these things. We have to equip our people from the pulpit to think biblically about all of these issues, and that includes the issues that they're going to face at the ballot box. I also think it's really important right now that pastors are wrapping their minds around some of the major, things that are coming down the pipe. I think that we have to be, students of understanding Islam so that we can address it and equip our people with a solid Christian apologetic against this rising, Islamicist movement that we're seeing. I think we also, which is what my new book is about, we have to be equipped to be able to take paganism head on as well. And, gone are the days of just, just the seeker-sensitive general programming for churches. We got to get serious about Christian worldview, formational type of teaching. And it is not time for any sort of lazy pastor behind the pulpit. There's a lot of work to do.
That's so true. No, can't have a lazy pastor, that's for sure. All right, let's move along. Let me welcome Kevin Sorbo back to FlashPoint, actor. I mean, you can't look at Kevin if you watch movies at all, and he's got the sword behind him. Hercules, welcome back to the show. Good to see you, Kevin. Sorbo Studios, actor, producer. Listen, it's been so long since first off, I want to give us an update on what you've been working on.
A lot of good things. I got 4 movies in the can right now, ready for release. I got 3 documentaries ready for release. Most of these will come out in the next 6 months. I just wrapped 3 other movies this year. In fact, Dean Cain and I just worked together, so we got Hercules and Superman together. Dean directed it, and it's a faith-based comedy, and it's a golf story, and that's right up my alley because I golf a lot. So I played the lead in this, and the title of the movie is called The Holy One. Get it? Golf, hole in one. So it's a wonderful, touching story. It's got redemption in it again, because I think we need that more than anything in the world. And so I've just been blessed to stay busy. I got another movie I'm directing in October, November in New Orleans. Heavy drama, faith-based, of course. And just blessed to keep on working. And I actually leaving here next week. I'm going to take an MRC cruise with Brent Bozell. And we got my wife and I are speaking as well, along with Lieutenant Colonel Alan West. Joe Concha is going to be there. Who else is going to be there? We got Kel Thomas, Tim Graham. It's a good crowd of people. And then my wife and I are hosting a trip to Greece. We usually take people to Israel. People are still a little freaked out about going there. And we've done that trip about 6 times now. But we're going to, instead of following the footsteps of Jesus, we're going to follow the footsteps of the Apostle Paul. And we're completely sold out. But for those who want to join us next year, just follow sorbostudios.com, and we're going to do it again next year. But we're going through Greece. And of course, the last day, we're going to stop at Mount Olympus because I was Hercules for 7 years.
Yeah, of course you are. All right, so Kevin, I want to ask you this because it's been a while. It's been months since you've been on. The with President Trump being in office, has that changed your world, the entertainment world, but your world specifically? Has that helped you?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's hurt it whatsoever, because I know he talked about the golden age of Hollywood and make Hollywood great again. I know he's appointed John Voight along with Mel Gibson and Mark Wahlberg to be, head that up as well. I live here in West Palm Beach. When the president's down here, I've been to Mar-a-Lago many times. So I've had bent his ear a couple times about things that need to change in Hollywood, and so we're going to keep plugging along in that. But the biggest change I've noticed, because these faith-based independent producers and different companies out there besides Sorbo Studios, we're very busy and getting more and more of these type of movies out there. There's 80 million homes that want the kind of movies that we do. And Hollywood's waking up finally. I mean, how many more woke movies they can keep doing? I mean, this Snow White movie is going to lose $350 million from what I read in the trade papers, because people are tired of this woke agenda. So I got contacted by a couple studios along with Netflix saying, hey, we want to talk to you about some of these movies you have and scripts that you have. So that's a positive, because, just a year or 2 years ago, they never would have done this. So this is a good thing that's happening right now. Yeah,
and I'm glad you said that, because that's the point I want to make. These studios, they're concerned about the bottom dollar. They want to make money. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a few that are interested in an agenda, obviously, but hey, when it comes down to it, they want stuff that people are going to come sit in seats in theaters. This is why it's so important for you and I to go see movies like this and support films that you want to see more of. I know, Kevin, when we talked, back before the election, even we were talking about how important it is if we want to change culture. Actually, in theater, the movies are a very key aspect that, for the most part, Christians have put aside.
They have, and they got to support these things. Look, we're independent producers. We're independent production companies. We don't have a $100 million advertising budget to shoot a $3 million movie. I mean, you look at the budgets they do in Hollywood, these $200-300 million movies. They have a $100 million budget to promote it and have a trailer in every sporting event, every sitcom, every soap opera. We need word of mouth. I mean, my movie God's Not Dead was an anomaly. A little $2 million movie made $140 million. That was all word of mouth. And we need to get out there. We need pastors to sit there and support these movies as well. And we need churches to work together. It's amazing to me the number of churches that I have spoke at and talked to, how it's just their little bubble. It's almost like their own, Hollywood does their own little bubble and DC does their own. Churches need to work together and support each other. And so do the companies that would be considered rival companies of me in the faith world. We all need to support each other's movies and reach out to all the people through our social media sites to get people out there, because these guys in theaters, they don't own it. They don't care what they show. They want to sell popcorn and sodas. So unfortunately, it's dominated by a lot of really bad, evil movies. And Hollywood's winning that battle. We have a spiritual battle as much as we have a cultural battle in America, and people need to step up and not be afraid.
So true. A lot packed in that statement. Let me bring in a pastor and see what he's going to say here. So, Pastor Lucas, what do you tell people? So, Lucas, but what do you do? Here's a very real problem, and I was going to say I hate to put you on the spot. I don't hate it. I want to put you on the spot. Some of the films you want to endorse may have things you have to correct on Sunday morning, but yet it's still important to get people to go see the right thing, the overall message of the film. So in light of that, we see these films, and it's amazing to me how religious people can get on things that they probably don't do at their own home, but what you should do, or go to the movies. I mean, I think Kevin's absolutely right, but you're a pastor of a church. How are you going to get people to go out there and support a film? Now, I will say churches work together. When we did the Sound of Freedom and all of that with the campaign that we worked hard on. How do you do that, Lucas?
Well, first off, Kevin, great to see you. He and I have worked on a couple projects in the past, and always good to connect. And look, Kevin knows this as well as anybody. I think that we have to focus on primary doctrine. I think that this is the bell that I've been ringing strongly. Not every film is going to get every single theological point right when it's a Christian movie, and that's okay, honestly. I think that it's good that we're having these conversations. I think it's good that we're getting this just out into the marketplace, giving people a chance to bring a neighbor or an unbelieving friend to the movies to see something or sit down and watch something on streaming. This gives, I think, the average Christian in America a chance to have some of these conversations initiated with people that they're wanting to minister to. I'm not looking for perfect theology when I watch a movie. Obviously, if something's very egregious, then we hope that gets dealt with in the script or early on. And I think it's important. A lot of these films are bringing on kind of spiritual direction to help guide them in that process early to avoid that. But these films are great, and I think that it's important to really serve this market well in this space. Kevin and his wife do it so well and have been at the forefront of a lot of these types of projects. And honestly, we need a lot more of them out there. There's a huge demand.
Yeah, there is a huge demand. But let me be specific. We had Neil McDonough on here to promote The Last Rodeo, and Neil, great guy, great believer, and he did this film. Yet I got letters from people, I can't believe you supported this film, or there was cussing in it. And I'm like, really? Come on. We live in a real world. We live in a fallen world. We're going to have to grow up a little bit here, Mark. I'll let you speak to this. We cannot be so religious that we don't relate to anybody anymore.
Yeah, the people who would write that to you, I hate to be harsh on them, but the question that I would have is, have they read the Bible? I mean, the Bible has sex in it. The Bible has adultery in it. The Bible has murder in it. The Bible has violence in it. This is human history, and our faith is part of that history. It drives human history. It has to be reflective of that history. And we have to, as conservatives, I believe, and this is something Kevin and his wife do very well, we have to make good art. And good art is art that is literally, it comes from God. God inspires great art. And I don't believe it's always about the theology. It's about values and morals. And that doesn't mean people don't cuss. People cuss in the real world. The question is the story carry a moral arc that fits with our value system as Christians? And then is it entertaining? Is it good art?
Yeah, that's good. Good comment there. Okay, Kevin, I'll let you speak to that last. What do you think?
Well, they mark it right in the nail there. I mean, here's the reality of it. I got atheist friends. I got agnostic friends. And they say to me all the time, they go, the trouble we find with not all Christians, but some Christians, if you aren't living a perfect life according to them, they will attack you and go after you. Who's perfect? None of us are perfect. I don't want to do movies that just preach to the choir. I want to do movies, we're called to harvest. And that's God showed me this road back in 2010. When I did a movie called What If with Dallas Jenkins directing it. Now that movie to me, I've done over 90 movies. That's in my top 3. I think it's a far better movie than God's Not Dead. But once again, where do you get the money to promote these things? We need to get it out there. So to me, I'm going to keep doing movies that I want redemption. I want faith. I want that road to show people, look, no matter where you are in your life, there's still a chance for you to become a better person. It's up to you. I always refer to Michael Jackson's song, The Man in the Mirror, because you can blame God, the world, mom, dad, the government, whatever. If you have problems in your life, you got to look in the mirror, because that's where it starts. You got to want to change yourself. That's what it really comes down to. And I'm going to keep fighting this. Neil and I've got a movie script from him that's unbelievable called The Wicked and the Righteous. And it is a Yellowstone violent Western, but it's a Cain and Abel story. And it's a powerful Cain and Abel story. And it's wonderful. And I hope that we're able to make this movie. I've known Neil a long time. He was on my movie Left Behind, Rise of the Antichrist I directed. I highly recommend that one as well. So I'm going to keep plugging along, doing what I'm doing. And I love what these guys are standing up for, because it's a good team you got on here tonight, because I think we got good messages to get out to everybody.
I agree. All right. So, by the way, I liked What If. I think you're right. That was a great movie. So first off, how can people go see that movie? Can they go to Sorbo Studios and get a link or something?
Yeah, SorboStudios.com is a great place. I think it's out there. And PureFlix sold themselves. Lucas, correct me if I'm wrong. They sold themselves to Sony Firm, and Sony Firm went to they're with MRC now, or what's it called again? The great GMC.
Yes, I think you're correct on that.
Yeah, it's all one under one house, so to speak, now. But it's out there, and like I said, I got more coming down the pipeline. So I've been blessed to, find stuff and keep on working.
Yeah, good. Well, thank you for doing that, Kevin. Let me get you to weigh in now. Not just on. I mean, it's easy to talk to you about entertainment and things that go on there, but I want to show you this.
Hollywood loves me, so.
Yeah, they are. You were on the top of all of their. Just like me. All right, let me show you this. Let me show number 9, guys. This is Trump, President Trump. I want to get your take on this. Nick Sorter posts, breaking, President Trump will be going out on patrol with D.C. law enforcement and National Guard tonight. Get your popcorn ready. Trump wants a firsthand look at how well the crime cleanup is going. I can't wait. Now, Kevin, can you imagine if you had a camera for that one? That would be a great show to watch.
Oh, it'd be fantastic. Are you kidding me? I think, look, the guy walks the walk. He is not afraid to get out there and just be himself. I met him. We golfed together 20 years ago already. We met in 2005 at an event for 3 days. We golfed. My threesome for 3 days was myself, Donald Trump, and Jesse Ventura. We should have done a reality show right now. Those 3 days alone.
Yeah.
And I told him during lunch, I said, Donald, when you could call him Donald, I said, I've always wanted a businessman to run America, not a politician. He goes, yeah, I think that makes sense. So I planted the seed. 10 years later, he went into the presidency. So I got to take full responsibility.
Okay,
so
you take full.
So the left can hate me more now.
That's right. Yeah. SorboStudios.com. Just go there and spew your hate. All right, let me show you, speaking of President Trump, some things that happened today. Let's go, guys, to... let's go to number 11. Look what happened to him. This is the court case with Letitia James. This didn't go well today. She had a bad day. Watch.
A New York appeals court just this morning has thrown out President Donald Trump's massive civil fraud penalty. The decision from a 5-panel group in New York's appellate division changed the original decision that stood to cost Trump over $500 million. One appeals judge calling the lower court's penalty an excessive fine that violates the 8th Amendment of the United States Constitution. You might remember that New York Attorney General Letitia James' office says despite this decision, they will not be dropping the case.
Mark, Letitia James, she's got some issues. This was a big blow. Now, this, with interest, this thing was over $515 million now, and it suddenly is gone. What do you think happens next?
Yeah, I think he's going to continue to appeal this, and ultimately he's going to win. This was an outrageous miscarriage of justice. And this is the quintessential example of the weaponization of the law, what is commonly now referred to as lawfare. This tells us that in New York, nobody's safe. If your politics aren't right, then the system's going to come against you. I want you to remember, she ran on the idea that she was going to get Donald Trump, that there was no crime that was alleged at the time. She was going to find the crime and convict the man. And that's ultimately what she did with Judge Engoron. I hesitate to even call him a judge, but Judge Engoron's assistants, the worst jurist in the United States of America, and the bar is very high for that.
All right, well, look at what Kevin Sorbo, that guy that the left loves, look at what he posted. Should Letitia James resign? Kevin, you had 16,000 plus views when we copied this off. What kind of response did you get to that one?
Well, it's interesting. It wasn't statute of limitations on it anyway, and wasn't just a misdemeanor to begin with. Now, how do you come up with $500 million and a fine for that? And you said it right there. She said, I'm going to run on getting Donald Trump. That this Trump derangement thing is for real. It's insane. It's crazy. The people out there, they just go nuts. I posted, I said, look, if Donald Trump said air is an amazing, beautiful thing, the left would suffocate themselves. So maybe they have a good road for him to go down.
Okay. Again, that's Sorbo Studios. So let me go back to you, Lucas. Your thoughts here on this whole case being thrown. I mean, at least this was the big thing today. He's still on the hook for some things, and he's going to appeal, and we'll be watching that. But what do you think about all this that happened today?
Look, I think both these guys are right. We're seeing the weaponization of the court system, and I think that this is something that should concern everybody. I mean, we've had a lot of major, billionaires say, "Hey, we don't want to do business in New York anymore. We don't want to be in these types of cities, because of the risks of this." And I think that a lot of people are seeing this for what it is, and they're waking up. There's a prejudice. There's a bias right from the get-go. Again, they've already picked the man. Now they got to find the crime to stick on him. And this is something that should wake everybody up.
I agree. All right. Well, it looks like we're just about out of time. I do want to remind everybody watching, want to be an investor in what FlashPoint is doing as we continue to expand. It's very simple. Go to FlashPoint Army, fparmy.com, and give us. We are a nonprofit. FlashPoint, the show, is a nonprofit corporation, and we welcome your donation. We do not take ads from Pfizer or Moderna or any of those people. So that's why we can say what we want to say, and we can put people like Kevin Sorbo on that, usually offends half my audience. So that's why we're here, to be able to do that. But if you'd like to help us, text FLASH and your dollar amount to 28950, or go to fparmy.com/give, or you can write a check, make it payable to FlashPoint, P.O. Box 1, Newark, Texas 76071. Now, the show's almost 5 years old. September will be 5 years old, yet the corporation FlashPoint is less than 100 days, or right at 100 days old. So thank you. As we continue to move out and expand, we're going to see great things happen. All right, I got 2 minutes. So Lucas, I'll give you the first 45 seconds. Tell me again how I can get pagan Christianity, or pagan threat
right here. And there's the new book. And yep, absolutely. So you can go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, ChristianBooks.com. This is everything you need to know about this rising paganism. It is especially disproportionately affecting young women, and what ultimately as Christians we can do about it.
There you go. Good thing you could get that one. Okay, Mark Meckler, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts are about the two guys that I'm here on camera with. And look, I learned so much from Lucas's book, Woke Jesus. I gave out literally dozens of copies of that book. I was really excited to meet him and read that thing. I plowed through it. I'm going to do the same thing with Pagan Threat. And I got to thank the Sorbos, both of them, for what they've done for so many years to represent Christians in the media. It's hard to imagine what the media marketplace would be like without these guys. So we got to do everything we can to support everything they do.
I agree, although I'm going to thank Sam more than Kevin. Kevin, you got about 30 seconds. Wrap it up.
I'm going to give a plug to my son Braden's newest book. It's called Embracing Masculinity in a country that wants to keep pushing men down. So I think it's great. I did a book with Kirk Cameron and Bray Books called The Bare Essentials of Fatherhood, and the importance of fathers in the family as well. So I like the fact that we're all kind of fighting on all fronts here. We got everybody crowded. And by the way, we talked about swearing in movies. A lot of people swear on the golf course as well, but I replaced the F word that everybody knows with another F word, Fauci, because he's got an F, U, and a C in his name, so it's close enough.
See, I made it through the whole show. Right now, I'm going to get letters. Send them to Kevin Sorbo,
letters are
Sorbo
coming.
Studios. Thank you for being a part here. Thank you for watching. Listen, tomorrow night, we got some people coming on. Let's see, who have I got on? Tell me, guys, who have I got on tomorrow night? Troy Brewer, Alan Didio, and we're working on other guests. So make sure you join. We're going to get the update. That's right, the update from South Texas and the floods. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part of FlashPoint. We will see you tomorrow night, where we're always to the right of center. See you then.